else statement would say invalid. Yeah, so that we can run it, and then we can see what it looks like. But does that make more sense now? Yeah. Yeah, code always like sounds weird when you say it out loud, but then when you see it, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so our grade was, so our number was a 65, and based on what I wrote, that means your grade is a C. If you go through this, 65 is not less than 50, so that's false and it skips this. 50 on 65 is not less than 60, so it skips this. And here, 65 is greater than or equal to 60, and it's also less than 70. So since both of these are true, then it'll go into here, and I'll print the C grade. And then after that, it'll just ignore the rest of this. So like this else if statement, this one, and the else also, because there's no need to. But yeah, any questions? No? Okay. So that's that. And then we also have a switch statement. And this is a lot of words, so I'll just show you what it actually is. But basically, you have this expression, and it's going to be a variable sometimes. And basically, you're going to try to look at this variable and see which of these values it matches. And basically, these cases are kind of like options. So it really is similar to what I just showed you, the if, else if stuff. It's just a different way of like doing it. And just like some like I had some just like you can read about this if you want, but the value like for the cases they have to be like integers or strings, and they have to be a constant or literal, and whenever this expression is equal to one of these values, it'll go inside the code and execute it. And then this break statement kind of does the same thing when I said like if you go back here to our else if statements. So once this else if statement was true, then it skipped everything else, right? So the break statement kind of does the same thing. It just like breaks the code and it just tells you to stop right there and then leave the switch statement and just continue with the rest of your code after the switch statement. So again, I can show you guys. And then the default here is kind of like your else. So let me find that. Okay, so I'm gonna comment this out. Just make it easier. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, what's today? Wednesday? I'll put 3. Okay, so we have our day, and then I put 3 because it's Wednesday. And then, so this is our switch statement. So basically, our expression is the day, and it's going to take this value, which is 3 right now, and it's going to compare this value 3 to all these cases. So case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the days of the week. And kind of like in if else statement, as soon as one of these cases is true, then you're going to evaluate whatever's inside. So for a switch statement, you know when it's true when this expression right here, this value, is equal to one of the values of the cases. So for this example, since day is 3, it's going to match with case 3. Does that make sense? So it's going to look in here, case 1 is false, you're going to skip it. Case 2 is false, you're going to skip it. But then here, day equals 3, and this is case 3. Since they both match, you're going to print out Wednesday, and then you're going to break. Because the break here just tells you to skip case 4, 5, 6, and 7, and exit out of the switch statement. And that again saves you time because you don't want to be running everything and like wasting time that way. And then also sometimes like people might leave out the break statement if they wanted to kind of like cascade down and evaluate other stuff. But for the sake of like simplicity, I put in the break statements just to show you guys how it works. So we're gonna run this also. Okay, as you can see, it says Wednesday. So, does that make sense? Any questions? You good? Yeah, I think coding is so cool. But yeah, so we have this, and then as I said, like when you get more like further in your programming career and everything, you can like leave out the break statements and everything. But for this example, I put them all in there and everything. And yeah.
For the cake, can you use the negative
Um, I'm trying to think. I don't usually I don't, but we can try it if you want. Here, I can put we can put a negative one because usually I don't think I do that, but let's see if it runs. That's a good question. So a lot of times like you don't know how things go, but yeah, it works. See, the more you know. But yeah, so you can do a negative number. What'd you say? Oh yeah, yeah. So in my big block of text here, it says that. Okay. So the variable in the switch statement, meaning for this example day, right? It is so it can only be integers, convertible integers, like byte, short, char, so like a character, which is like letters or numbers, strings or enums, and basically like we've only went over integers, characters, and strings. Well, we're gonna go over strings today, but yeah, so you can do like A, B, and C because those are characters, and that works also. So if you want, you can try that. So I'll put A. Let's see. Yeah, I learned a lot about coding just by messing around with it and just seeing like what works and what doesn't. But yeah, so this works. So for the character, use single quotes, and then this is like the letter A. And since these two match, then it prints out Monday. Okay. So does that make sense, everybody? Okay, perfect. So yeah, so that's our switch statement. And basically, again, these conditionals, these help you make decisions in code because sometimes you only want something to execute if something is true. And then I have an example at the end that I can show you guys also. But yeah, so those are conditionals. And then now I put a link in there for extra practice if you want to look at it. And now we're going to go to the string class. So last time we went over like integers, doubles, characters, and everything like that. And those are the primitive data types. So like numbers, like decimal numbers, and like true and false stuff. They're called booleans. But yeah, so for the string, it's a class, and everything in Java is like a class or object. It's an object-oriented program. And string is one of the really important ones, and it's one that's pretty easy to use as a beginner. So what are strings? So they're basically a sequence of characters, and they're treated like objects. And once you create a string object, you can't change the characters that make up the string. So if I made a string and I called it message, and the message was hello, I can't change it to like bye. Does that make sense? Yeah, you can't change it. And you use the string class to create string objects. And we're going to go over that in an example. And strings are also a reference data type. So I mentioned the primitive data types. And then those are just like your numbers, your true and false stuff. But then for this, it's basically a data type that's based off another class. So in this case, it's based off the string class. And this is predefined in Java for you. So you don't have to like build the whole thing yourself. So I can show you guys. So to create a string, we can do it in two ways. So this is kind of like the easier way, and this is using string literals. And a literal is just whatever value you put in here. So if you go back to this example, the literal here is going to be the character A. But before, when it was 2, the literal was 2. So it's just like whatever is the value of your variable. So yeah, so basically the format is you're going to do capital S string, you're going to name it, equal sign, and then double quotes and whatever message you want, and your semicolon. So if we want to program it, Okay. So yeah, so here is making a string with literals. Can you see that? Yeah. And so I have string. I named it S1, and then I just put apples in the quotes. And I use this to print it out to a console. So you do the print statement, and then this is what I'm putting. Like, this is not a string that I defined, but I'm putting it inside the parentheses of the print statement, so it'll still print, and you'll see when I run it. And it just says like my favorite fruit is, and then I add on the S1, which is our string, and then so it'll put apples in here. So I can run this. It's kind of slow sometimes. Okay. So as you can see, our very first line is my favorite fruit is apples, which is what we expected. So does that make sense to you guys? Okay, perfect. And then, so there's like an issue here, well, with doing it this way sometimes. So we have this example, string str1 equals welcome, string str2 equals welcome. So they both have the exact same value since they're both like capital W welcome and they're the exact same. So since a string is an object, it has something to do with like the memory. So for example, what did I do? Okay, so here. So basically, by doing it this way, we are creating, here, I have the code, oh my god, what am I doing? I have the code here. So string greeting hello friend, string hi hello friend. So they're both the same thing. So basically, in memory, what Java is going to do is it's going to make a variable, it's going to call it greeting, and then it's going to point to the space in memory where it stores the value hello friend, right? And then when we're doing the other string, like hi, since it has the exact same value as hello friend, it's going to point to the same place in memory. So basically this hi references this. And that's because we didn't use the new keyword. So in order to avoid this, if we want something like this, right, where they point to their own parts of memory, we have to use the new keyword. And let me see. So do you want me to make this? Yeah. So since this string hello friend already exists in memory, the compiler doesn't make a new object. It just points to this piece of memory. Oh, you're okay. So now we have two string instances, greeting and hi, but only one string object in memory with hello friend. And this just makes memory more efficient and everything. So if this is going to be an issue for you, if you don't want them pointing to the same place in memory, then you have to create your string using the new keyword. So which is this. Okay, so if you want to avoid that problem, you're gonna not do it like this, but do it like this. So you're gonna do string and then name it still, and then you're gonna use the keyword new, string, and then whatever your message is inside. So in this case, by doing the new, it's gonna create this. So the compiler will create two different objects in memory. So there's two blocks in memory, and they both have the same value. And then now each of these points to its own piece of memory. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I don't understand the first problem.
With
Why
this?
the new string is needed.
Oh, like why made this high? This is to show to show you an example of it. That in like a practical sense, like you usually wouldn't make two of these with the exact same value, but I can't think of like a practical example right now. But if you were to, like for example, if I changed, I'm trying to think of something where it would make sense. Because let's say like if you wanted to change this, like if you wanted to change the value of greeting or something, right? And then it points to hello friend, this would change also. And if this memory changes, it would affect hi. Yeah, so if you,
we can change the memory.
Well, if you what'd you say?
I thought that we cannot change the string.
Yeah, so like it's like the reference if you want to change like what it refers to and everything. Yeah. I can I can find an example for you guys next time because like off the top of my head I can't think of one, but I'll find one. Okay, so then we have that, went over that. Okay, and then also this is gonna relate to our next few slides. So our strings are indexed, meaning that I guess each little slot is kind of like each little letter or character is assigned a number to tell you the position of the letter. So for example, I have the word hello and it's 5 letters, but in Java everything is index 0. So meaning like it just starts at 0. So you don't count from 1, you count from 0. So then the first letter, H, is going to be at index 0, E is 1, L is 2, and so on. So then even though there are 5 letters, our indexes go from 0 to 4. Does that make sense? Okay, so then that's going to relate to our next slide. So now we're going to introduce the string class methods, and a method is basically a collection of statements that perform an action for you, and then they return a value. So it saves time because you don't have to keep on retyping your code over and over again. You can just use your method and it'll do the work for you and give you the value you want, and this helps you reuse code also. So our first method is going to be this. So char at, and then you're going to put in an index of the type integer. So here is an example. So basically, you're gonna put in an index. Let's say like index 0, and then it'll return the character in the string at that index. So we have this little picture, and our string is welcome to Java, and even the spaces count as indexes. And then if you do, so your string is gonna be called message. If you do message.char at, and you put in the index 0, it'll turn W to you because W occupies the 0th index. Does that make sense? Okay. And if you want the last value, which is going to be here, you would do message char at 14. And a common mistake is, let's say like you write this and you count it out and you count 15 characters, which is right because the length is 15. People might put like message char at 15, and that will give you an error because there's nothing at index 15. It's empty. Does that make sense? Okay. So I have an example for that.
So,
Yeah.
for example, if our string is a number, a number, so
If you have like a number in your
yeah,
string,
number, and when we use the char add, and we take out a number, is that the integer value or it's just like
what?
a char value?
Oh, are you asking if it takes out a number? Okay, yeah. So the question was, if you have, let's say, like a string of numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes.
and
When I use the char add, and I
Mhm.
take out a number.
yeah, so the char at doesn't take it out of your string. So let's say like if you have, here I'll just type it out. So this is not code, but like you have 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And let's say you do like char at, let's just say 0. So it would return to you the number 1, but then it doesn't delete it. It doesn't take it out and delete it. So then your code, after you do char at, it would not be just 2, 3, and 4. You would still have 1 in there. So basically it just goes into your string and it goes to that index and then it sees, okay, what value is there? 1, okay, cool. And then the method will return the value to you.
So can I set the char at 0 and then I go to
Would you say?
can I do the like can I do so okay I do the char at 0, so I have the number 1 right, char at 0 I have number 1,
Yeah.
and then can I plug in 2 and the question and the answer is 3. It's like that.
Like, can you plug a number into index 0?
Yeah, like it's like a number or it's like just like a character.
Oh, so you're asking if, let's say you do char at 0, right?
Okay, so
And then
it
you have
return
1.
me is a number or it's just like a character 1 or number 1.
Oh, it'll give you just like whatever value is there. So if you have a string and you put in numbers there, it'll give you the number 1 back.
Here number 1.
Yeah.
Also it's integer. So I can use that one to do plus or minus something.
Oh, that's what you're asking. Oh, okay. He was asking if like the return would it be the integer one or the
Yes.
character one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think it'll be the character one since a string is a sequence of characters.
So I have to change from, if I want to use the number, I have to change from the character to the integer.
Yeah.
Do they have the
I think you have to
number?
convert it. Yeah.
They have-
Yeah, so I have an example here. This is conditionals. Okay, so here we have this. Okay. Yeah, because it's like char at, so it's like the character at that index. Yeah. So we can. This is a lot, so I'm just gonna. And then we can play around with it also. What, to answer your question? Yeah, and there's a way to convert the characters to numbers. I think I was gonna go over that in like next session, just so this wouldn't get too long. But okay, so we're gonna run this. So as you can see, we have this message, and I think it's like 29 letters. Like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We have 29. So 29 total characters. So that's going to be our length. So then I just put in random indexes. So I have 0, and then index 0, W is there. And then for 3, it is A. And then for 4, it's R. And then for 9, it is, I think, this A. So does that make sense? Okay, perfect. So that's one of the methods. And then we have length, and this just returns to you the number of characters. So in this example, if you have the same message, if you do message.length, this time it'll give you 15. Because even though the last index is 14, we started at 0. So it's kind of like offset by 1. Yeah, and then I have an example here. Yeah, so we use the same message here, and we're just printing out the length. Do I mean to run it, or do I just get it? Can you run it? Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna run it. Okay, I have a bunch of output here, but you see, this is our output we want. Our message is 29 characters. Okay, so that's length. Does that make sense? And then we have concat. So concatenate just basically means like to like attach, and that's when you attach one string to another. So with all these methods, you're gonna notice we have like our strings defined, and then whenever you call the method, you're gonna do this. So we have string 1, and then we're gonna do period, and then we're gonna do the method. So since the method is concat, parentheses and a string inside, you're gonna do the same thing. So you're gonna do string 1, concat, string 2. And this basically means we're gonna do string 1, and then we're going to attach string 2 to string 1, and then we're gonna assign this whole string to a new variable called string 3. Does that make sense?
Can I do the string 1 plus string 2?
Yeah, you can also do that. So he was asking, so this is what the method concat, right? And then we can also do, I think I have an example of that. Do I not? Okay, I can show you. But yeah, you can also do this. So you can also do string 4 equals, and then you can do string 1 plus string 2. And basically, this does the exact same thing as the dot concat, and this is kind of like a shorthand way of doing it with the plus sign. So we can print out both strings. So we're going to print out string 3 and string 4. And you're going to see that they're going to be equal. Okay, so we have pineapple and pineapple. So these two are the exact same thing. So you can do either or. And then, huh?
Why they make the
What'd you say?
why they make the contact? Because we can do the first. We can do like simple like string 1 plus string 2. Why they make the contact?
I just think it's like a method in the class. You can use it if you want. If not, it's okay. You don't have to use it. But yeah, for example, you can do like a lot of concatenations. So here I have only, so here I defined these two, so string 1 and string 2 before, and I just put the variable string 2 inside. And then here, you can just add them directly in here. So I only made the variable email, and this value is alligator. And then now I'm making my, like a variable called uf email. And basically you can call like dot concat multiple times. And then I added the @, the ufl.edu, and then here, I printed it out here. So my email address is, and I put the UF email, and then the output is here. My email address is alligator@ufl.edu. Okay? And you can also just do it all to one string object. So here I have string and then intro equals welcome, and then you can do intro equals intro.concat. So it'll first take intro, which is welcome, concatenate to welcome, and then it'll assign welcome to as the new value to intro. Does that make sense? Okay? And then you're going to do the same thing with this line. And then now when you print out intro, it'll print out welcome to Java 101 session 2. Does that make sense? Okay. And then, do we run it, or do you guys get it? Yeah. So, I'm going to run it. And then you're going to see the email thing that I went over. So, here's the email. And then here is the Java 101 print statement. Okay. And then that's concat. And then we have equals. So, for this method, this is case sensitive. So, for example, like this word text wouldn't equal text in uppercase because one's lowercase and one's uppercase, so they wouldn't be equal. And then this returns a boolean, which basically is true or false. So it'll be true, they are equal, false, they're not equal. And then we have equals ignore case, meaning you compare them, but then the case doesn't matter. So in this situation, this text, this text and the capitalized text would be equal because they have T, E, X, T, those same letters in that same order. So I can show you guys that. Okay. So here is equals, and I have a lot of stuff here. So string 1 is all lowercase coffee, string 2 is uppercase coffee, and string 3 is lowercase coffee. And we're just going to compare them by doing the dot equals. So we're going to compare string 1 to string 2. And here's the output. So right here. You see that? Okay, so string 1 equals to string 2. Since this is all lowercase coffee and string 2 is all uppercase coffee, that's going to give you false. So that's the boolean that's going to return. And string 1 equals string 3. So since these are both lowercase, and the exact same word, this is true. They're equal. And then it's just me comparing like random words. So string 1 is it equal to welcome. They're not the same case, not the same word at all, so it's false. And you can even put in, you don't need to put in a variable here. You can just put in the actual string. So is string 1 equal to all lowercase coffee? That's true. And then I did the same thing with this hello. So that was was that. And then this is the ignore case one. So I have fruit 1 is mango on lowercase, fruit 2 is capital mango, and then fruit 3 is orange. And we're going to compare them. So then I did fruit 1, is that equals ignore case to fruit 2. So since these are both the word mango and we're ignoring the case, then this will return true. So here I have fruit 1 equals to fruit 2, and that's true. And we're comparing fruit 1 with fruit 3, and in this case it's going to be false because mango and orange are different. Is that good? Okay. So we have that. And then this compared to is kind of confusing because I haven't gone over Unicode yet, but this basically is going to see like what comes first in the alphabet. And so for example, if I asked you guys compare apple and orange, like the words apple and orange, you would say that apple comes first, since A comes before O. And then if you were to compare apple and application, so even though they have APPL, those 4 letters are the same, E comes before I, so then apple comes first. And then that's what Java is doing also. And this returns an int value. And based on the int value, based on the sign of the int value, that tells you how the first string and the string in the parentheses compare. So if it's negative, that means the string not in the parentheses comes first. So if I had like apple dot compared to orange, that will give you a negative number. And then if that returns 0, that means the 2 strings are equivalent. So if I did like apple compared to apple. And then if it returns a number greater than 0, that means the number in the parentheses comes first. So that would be like me doing like orange dot compared to apple on the inside. So it's always going to be, here I can show you, it's always going to be this first thing compared to this. So I used, do you want to see an example for this? Yeah, okay. So I used the same variables that I used before with lowercase mango, uppercase mango, and orange. So we're comparing fruit 1 to fruit 2. So mango and uppercase mango. And then this will give you a positive sign. So meaning that, going back to our slide, you can see that the string in the parentheses comes first. So the case does matter in this also, since the uppercase M comes before the lowercase m. And then we're comparing fruit 2 to fruit 1. So I just reverse these two. So the uppercase 1 to the lowercase 1, and then that gives you negative 32, which means that this comes first. So the number on the outside comes first. And the number right now, don't worry about it, but it basically just means like their difference in their Unicode equivalents. And then we have this one, so we're comparing fruit 1 to itself fruit 1, and here it'll give you 0, since they're exactly the same. And then down here I basically did the same thing. And then you can do compare to ignore case, which is basically the same idea, but in this case they don't care if it's uppercase or lowercase. So going back here, fruit 1 is lowercase mango, fruit 2 is uppercase mango, and then we're comparing them. So in this case, it'll give you 0. So since it's these two outputs, these two. Since fruit 1 is mango, fruit 2 is mango, we're ignoring the case, they're equal. And then even if you reverse them, it's still going to be equal. And that's what the 0 tells us. Does that make sense? Okay. We go over that. Okay, and then substrings. So a substring is a string inside of a string. So for example, if you have the number whole, the word who is a substring of whole. And the word hole, like the thing you dig in the ground, is also a substring of whole. So that plays into this. I think this is our last slide. Yeah. So this is our last function that I'm going to go over. There's many, many more, but right now, this is what I'm going to end at. So we have contains, and then we're going to pass in a string. And basically this tells us if the string we're passing in the parentheses is a substring in the string on the outside. So, and also it's case sensitive. So, here. Okay. So I have X equals Adidas, and then Y equals Adidas, but then I capitalize the D and the D, and then Y equals did, all in lowercase, and then the Z equals capital D, lowercase I, capital D. And then, here, this is their output. So we're comparing X and seeing if it contains Y. So X is Adidas, and Y is did, and as you can see, X does contain Y with the DID. You guys see that? So then that would return true. So that's our first output right here. And then we're looking at X and Z. So we're looking at X Adidas still, and then Z is capital D, lowercase I, capital D. And then again, since it's case sensitive, since there is no capital D, lowercase I, capital D here, the second print statement returns false. And then for our last one, we're comparing I to Z. And then Z is this, and then I contains Z as a substring. So then the last one returns true. Does that make sense? Okay. So we are out of time technically. However, I have one more. I have an example that incorporates the string stuff, the conditionals, and then some of the variables. I can just upload it if you guys want to look at it separately, or we can do it right now. It's up to you guys. You wanna do it, or don't we'll get it later?
So,
Do you want to do the example now, or do you want to
uh,
look at it later?
you can do it now.
Okay, I didn't know that somewhere to be. Okay, so then this is gonna be a practice problem. Just kind of review everything. So again, all this code that I'm using will be uploaded on my GitHub, and I have the link in the PowerPoint. So basically, the goal of this is kind of like a lottery machine. So then here I set a number as the winning lottery number, and then I ask the user to put in their guess. And then based on their guess, I'm going to like give them money. So that's what all the if and else if statements are for. So basically, if they guess, like let's say if my number is 21 and they guess 21, that means they win $100. But let's say if my winning number is 21 and the user guessed 12, they still match both of those numbers, or there's reverse, so they get $50. And then if their number just matches one number in 21, so it could be 11 or it could be like 23, then they get $25. So based on that, we're going to build this program. And I did it ahead of time for the sake of saving time, but you guys can look at it and play around with it. So we went over scanners, right, in programming 1? Did you go over scanners in programming 1? Like taking input? Okay. So that's in my PowerPoint 1. Basically, a scanner is if you want to take in user input, and you'll see when I run this. So just to go over my code, so I declared a variable, and it's a string, so it's 21, and that's the winning number. And then I'm going to ask the user, using the scanner, I'm going to say, please enter 2 integers to pick your lottery number. And then I'm going to put in a number, and it's going to store it in this variable guess. So now we're going to look at, this is our methods for our string class. So we're going to look at and save each individual number in our lottery. So 21, I would just save the 2 and the 1, and that means I have lottery 1, and that would save the first character, 2, and then I have lottery 2, meaning I save the second character, which is 1. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the number that the user guessed with the char at. So does that make sense so far? Okay. I'm just trying to explain my logic so when I run it, you guys get what I'm doing. And then later, if you look over it, you get what I'm doing. Okay. And now our conditionals. So for our first if statement, it's seeing if it's an exact match. If the number is 21 and the user guesses 21, then they win. So here we use the dot equals because we're trying to see if they're equal or not. And then if that's true, you print out this statement inside. But if not, then you skip this whole thing and you go to the next statement, which is else if. And then here, this is the condition where if they just match one of the numbers. So, or sorry, if they match both of the numbers. So if the number is 21, then they have to guess like 12 because then they have the 2 and the 1 in there still. So here what I'm doing is I'm taking the first number of the lottery and seeing if it's equal to the second number of their guess. And then seeing if the second number of their lottery is equal to the first number of their guess. And do you get why I did that, or do I need to explain it? Yeah, so for this, so when I did guess dot equals lottery, that's basically seeing, I can comment this. That's basically saying this. I could have like done this two ways for the first if statement. Okay. Okay, so instead of this guess dot equals lottery, I could have just put in lottery 1 equals guess 1 and lottery 2 equals guess 2, meaning that they're an exact match, right? Because if your lottery number is 21 and your guess is 21, that means you want the first number of the lottery to match the first number of your guess, and the second number of your lottery to match the second number of your guess. Does it make sense? So then since we already took care of that case, which is this here, then we're not going to do that again. So then if we're trying to just see if they matched both numbers, then you would just do this, where you see if, let's say if they guessed like 12, right? Then you would just see if the first number of the lottery here equals the second number of the guess, which is true. And if the second number of the lottery equals the first number of the guess, so 1 and 1, 2 and 2. Does that make sense? Okay. So that means you match both numbers. And then this one is if you just match one number. So this is, let me give me comments. So our lottery is 21. And then I'll just put down like random guesses. Like we can do like 23. We can do 32, 42. So for this case, I'm just gonna do let's guess 2. 51, and then lottery 2 equals guess 2. Okay, so this is just looking at if you just matched one number. So we're looking to see if the first number of the lottery equals the first number of your guess. So in this case, that will be an example of it. And then so basically these double bars mean or, and these double ampersands mean and. So for this, the or just means like only one of these has to be true. And I can go over that with you because that was my first session. But yeah, so basically only one of these between the double bars has to be true in order for this whole thing to be true, and then it'll evaluate this print statement. So yeah, so you have to either just match the 2 or the 1. So it could be 23, 42, 51, 18, and in these two, they have the 2 in them, and then in these two, they have a 1. So these all would satisfy this else if statement. And then the else is you're kind of like your default. If you have no matches at all, if you guess like 88, that would mean that you have no match. So we're gonna run this and see. Okay, so as you can see, this is what I was saying about the user input. So all the way up here, I asked the user, which is me in this case, to put in 2 integers. So I'll put in the number, let's do 12, and then we can see what it says. So I'm gonna put 12 in, enter it, and then as you can see, we satisfied this case where the first number of the lottery, which is 2, matches the second number of my guess, which is 2, and the second number of the lottery, which is 1, matches the first number of my guess, which is 1. So therefore, they printed out this. Does that make sense? Okay. But yeah, so this is what I came up with to show you guys the conditionals, how to use a scanner class, all the methods for the string, and how to declare variables and that kind of stuff. So that kind of was a good summary of the first session and this session. But yeah, so that concludes the material, just some like things to wrap up with. More, so I didn't go over all the methods. There's a lot of them, and then a lot of them get kind of complex. But it's kind of like the same idea. You're just gonna do like one of the strings dot the method name, and then in the parentheses whatever they want you to input. And then if you go on these sites, they'll show you more, explain them to you. They have examples for you guys to look at also. And so yeah, and then here is our feedback form, if you fill it out for me. And then again, my email is right here if you want to email me questions. And then here's the link for the code that I used today, and the code that I used for the last tutorial, and then the slides from last time, and again, all of our social media. So yeah, you have any questions or anything? No? You guys good? Okay. We don't know our room yet for the next Java 101 tutorials, but as soon as we know, we're gonna put it on like our social media. And if you guys want, you can also email me and ask about it if you guys want to know. But yeah. Okay, thank you guys. Alright, have a good day. Okay, let me end my stream.